Folks, when's the last time you actually read the back of your tortilla package? Most people never do, and that's exactly what these brands are counting on. Because inside most flour tortillas sitting in American refrigerators right now, there's a dough conditioner that can be made from duck feathers or dissolved human hair. There's wood pulp being used as a texture filler, and the tortilla sold specifically to diabetics as the clean, healthy choice has over 20 ingredients, more than any standard product we're covering today. I've been making my own bread and my own dough on this farm for over 45 years, and I'll tell you, a real tortilla only ever needed 4 ingredients: flour, water, fat, and salt. Today, we're going through 7 brands, 5 to avoid, 2 that actually kept it clean. The worst one is probably already sitting in your kitchen right now. Let's start there. Begin with Aztec Tortillas, the one Midwest families have trusted for 50 years without ever once being given a reason to look closer. Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, this brand's been on regional shelves since 1970, and for a lot of households in those states, it was the tortilla sitting there before the national names ever reached every corner of every store. That loyalty built up slow, across generations of weekly shopping trips, until the name stopped being a choice and became a reflex. It felt local, it felt chosen, different from the faceless national brands everybody else was buying. That feeling of being different was the entire foundation of trust here, and it never once required the company to explain what's actually inside the bag. Here's what the label really says. Enriched bleached flour leads the list. Flour chemically stripped of its natural properties, then synthetically fortified back up after the fact. The bleaching's cosmetic. It makes lower grade flour look whiter on the shelf. It doesn't improve the tortilla one bit. Then there's L-cysteine, a dough conditioner that loosens gluten so cheaper flour can be pressed and stretched at industrial speed without tearing. In commercial food production, that compound can be derived from duck feathers, and in some cases, from dissolved human hair. The label just says L-cysteine. The source is never disclosed, and no disclosure is legally required. Calcium propionate follows right behind it, a mold inhibitor that keeps the tortilla shelf-stable for 30 days at room temperature, something real flour, water, and fat simply cannot do on their own. The regional brand Midwest families chose specifically as their local alternative to the national names runs the exact same dough chemistry as every one of those national brands. The local feel was always in the marketing. It was never in the ingredients. Then there's the plain, store brand tortilla. Great value at Walmart, the Kroger house label. The one nobody ever examines because it never claimed to be anything worth examining. No heritage story, no grandmother's recipe on the front, just a plain bag and a low price. That complete absence of identity is exactly why it never gets a second look. Enriched bleached flour leads the list here too. L-cysteine is present, calcium propionate is present, cellulose wood pulp fibers in there as a texture filler, and that same 30-day shelf life comes courtesy of the same industrial preservation chemistry running through every named brand we're covering today. The formula's functionally the same as the big national names. The honest truth here is that a family buying the store brand because the grocery budget demands it isn't getting a meaningfully worse product than the family paying more for a named brand. They're getting the same industrial formula, just without paying extra for the advertising built up around that name. Now, Old El Paso, the one that didn't just sell you a tortilla, it sold your whole family a weekly ritual. Taco Tuesday belongs to this brand more than any other name in American food. The yellow box, hard shells on one side, soft tortillas on the other, seasoning packet right in the middle, and the promise that dinner's completely handled. That cultural achievement is real. What's inside the box is a different conversation entirely. Start with that seasoning packet you pour into the ground beef every Tuesday without a second thought. It contains maltodextrin, a highly processed starch with a glycemic index higher than table sugar itself, meaning it spikes blood sugar faster than sugar does. That same packet contains silicon dioxide, an anti-caking agent that also happens to be the primary compound in sand. The label just says silicon dioxide. Now look at the soft tortillas. They contain calcium propionate too, and research published in the Journal of Pediatrics and Child Health has flagged associations between that compound and behavioral changes in children, including irritability and restlessness. That research isn't conclusive, and it's important to say that plainly. But it's significant enough that multiple countries have placed restrictions on this compound in products marketed to kids. And this brand markets its taco kits directly and explicitly at families with young children. The hard shells are fried in oil containing TBHQ, a petroleum-derived preservative that's shown up in more than one fast food investigation. And one more thing you won't find anywhere on that box. This brand is owned by General Mills, the same corporation behind Cocoa Puffs and fruit roll-ups. The weekly ritual felt personal. The company that designed it was solving a very different problem entirely. Then there's Guerrero Tortillas, a brand whose whole identity is built around being closest to where the tortilla actually came from. Walk into a store serving a Hispanic community and find the tortilla aisle. This name sits right at the center of it. Everything about the packaging signaling closeness to the original, the kind of tortilla a grandmother back home would recognize. That positioning is deliberate, and it's doing a very specific job for the company behind it. Because this brand is owned by the largest tortilla corporation on the planet, producing over 12 million tortillas a day across facilities on multiple continents. The family kitchen identity and the 12 million a day industrial reality share the very same label. L-cysteine is present here too, the same conditioner derived from feathers or hair, inside a product whose whole positioning implies traditional, handcrafted preparation. Traditional tortilla makers never needed compounds from industrial feather processing. Propionic acid shows up as a mold inhibitor, wood pulp fiber as a texture modifier. Industrial processing aids inside a product sold on the promise of cultural authenticity. And even some of the corn tortillas in this same line carry cellulose, meaning the corn line doesn't consistently deliver the two-ingredient formula real masa is supposed to be. Here's a test you can run yourself. Open a fresh bag and smell it before you cook anything. The aroma's neutral, flat, almost nothing at all. Real masa smells earthy, slightly sour, layered, the product of corn actually soaked and cooked in an alkaline lime solution the old way. That smell can't be faked chemically, and this brand doesn't produce it because the formula was never built to. And that brings us to the one positioned as the healthiest option in the whole aisle, low-carb tortillas. And it turns out to be the most chemically engineered product on this entire list. This is the tortilla diabetics reach for because a standard flour tortilla carries too many carbs, the one keto shoppers carefully calculate into their daily macros. And that low-carb number on the label does deliver in the narrowest way possible. Here's how they pull it off. Oat fiber gets added at high volume, cellulose gets added, modified wheat starch gets added, functional fiber compounds that offset the total carbohydrate count on the nutrition panel. That math is accurate. What it doesn't show you is everything that had to be engineered into the formula to make that number go down while a tortilla still holds together as a tortilla. We're talking over 20 ingredients in a product whose original recipe only ever needed 4. Sodium stearyl lactylate is present, 1 emulsifier. Datem is present, a 2nd. Distilled monoglycerides, a 3rd. 3 completely separate emulsification systems running at once, because without all 3, the formula physically cannot hold its own shape, and that alone tells you something. Calcium propionate is in there too, the very same mold inhibitor we found in Old El Paso and in Aztec, sitting quietly in the tortilla purchased specifically by folks managing diabetes and metabolic health. People who read that net carb number and track their fiber more carefully than almost anybody else in the store, but who rarely read 14 ingredients further down the list to find that mold inhibitor waiting at the bottom. That's the full avoid list. Most of these brands aren't doing anything illegal. Every ingredient's right there on the label. The trouble is, most folks don't know what those ingredients mean, where they come from, or what they're really signaling about the formula underneath. That's the whole point of an investigation like this. Now let's get to the two that actually got it right. Not because it was easier or cheaper to keep the recipe honest, but because they understood something the rest didn't. The original tortilla formula didn't need improving. It needed protecting. Start with Siete Family Foods, the grain-free option that removed every problematic compound without taking the tortilla off the table. This brand didn't start as a business strategy. It started as a health necessity. Veronica Garza developed an autoimmune condition in her early 20s that required cutting grains from her diet entirely, and her family's whole food culture had always centered around the tortilla. Eliminating grains meant losing the thing that held every meal together. The Garza family spent years developing a tortilla from cassava flour, coconut flour, and avocado oil, because nothing on the shelf met that need. What started as one family's solution became a brand because plenty of other families had the exact same problem and couldn't find an answer anywhere else. Here's what's not in it. No L-cysteine, no cellulose, no calcium propionate, no bleached flour, no enriched flour, no propionic acid. None of the compounds we found across every brand on the avoid list. The ingredient list reads in under 10 seconds and makes complete sense in under 30. Cassava flour does the work here, a root vegetable flour with natural binding properties that don't require chemical conditioners to hold the dough together. The shelf life runs shorter than the big commercial brands, and that's not a flaw. That's the correct, honest behavior of food made without mold-inhibiting chemistry. Buy fewer at a time, use them within the window, and treat that shorter shelf life as proof of what isn't in the bag. Available at Whole Foods, Target, Walmart, and mainstream grocery chains nationwide. And the very best on the list, La Tortilla Factory. 3 ingredients, the original formula, completely unchanged. This company was founded in Santa Rosa, California by the Tomeo family back in 1977. Their handmade style corn tortilla line uses masa made from stone ground corn that's been nixtamalized, soaked and cooked in an alkaline solution of water and lime before it's ground, the same way corn's been prepared for centuries, applied here without a single shortcut for industrial shelf life or production speed. That process does 3 specific things worth knowing. It increases how much of the corn's protein your body can actually use. It releases B vitamins that would otherwise stay locked inside the corn's fiber. And it produces that complex, earthy aroma real masa carries, something no industrial brand has ever managed to fake, because chemistry can't reproduce what happens when a real ingredient is prepared the right way. Stone ground masa, water, trace lime from the nixtamalization process, 3 ingredients, the same formula the corn tortilla has used since it was first made. No dough conditioners, no mold inhibitors, no wood pulp, nothing that wasn't in the original recipe 500 years ago. Open a bag before you cook anything and just smell it. Earthy, slightly sour, faintly sweet, layered in a way that only comes from one honest ingredient handled correctly. That's what a tortilla is supposed to smell like. The shelf life runs 3 to 4 days at room temperature, and after that, it does what real food does without chemical help. It starts to go stale the way food's supposed to. Refrigerate it and use it within 2 weeks. That's not a limitation. That's the formula being completely honest about what's in it. If you've ever wondered why the corn tortilla at a good taqueria tastes nothing like the one from your grocery store, Now you know. The restaurant was using real masa. You were eating a shelf-stable industrial product shaped like a tortilla and sold under the same name. Available at Whole Foods, Sprouts, and Latin grocery retailers nationwide, priced comparable to the big commercial brands built on the exact opposite promise. 7 brands and 1 industrial formula, cycling through nearly all of them under different labels, different heritage stories, and different price points. A dough conditioner sourced from duck feathers or dissolved human hair in every flour tortilla we looked at, never disclosed because the law doesn't require it. A mold inhibitor tied to children's behavioral research, showing up in products marketed directly at families and at diabetics who read every other line on that label carefully. Wood pulp fiber, modifying the texture of tortillas, sold on cultural authenticity and generational trust. A 20-ingredient health tortilla, more heavily engineered than any standard product it claimed to replace. A budget store brand delivering the exact same chemistry as the premium name beside it, because the only real difference between them was always advertising spend, never ingredients. 2 brands held the original formula intact. Siete for the grain-free option that took out every problematic compound without taking the tortilla off the table. La Tortilla Factory for the 3-ingredient corn tortilla, unmodified, sitting on the shelf right next to the industrial version at nearly the same price. The tortilla's 500 years old. It never needed 15 ingredients to work. It never needed wood pulp for texture or feather-derived conditioners for structure. 2 brands remembered that. The rest are counting on you never checking. So go check the package sitting in your own pantry tonight. Flip it over. Count every ingredient past flour, water, fat, and salt. And let that number tell you exactly what kind of formula you've been feeding your family.